Breaking news right now out of Midtown. A manhunt underway for the person who has shot 3 people.
And they want folks to stay out of that area. So the scene unfolding as we speak is near Peachtree Street and 14th Street. Police are asking folks in that area to stay off the roadways, specifically in these areas. Listen up here, between 12th Street and Peachtree Street Northeast and 15th Street and West Peachtree Street Northwest. And we know that 3 people have been shot, Jennifer. We know that. That's what we're getting from APD. And the shooter is still on the run.
That's right. And this is a live look right now from the Georgia Department of Transportation camera. This is the intersection of Peachtree Street and 14th Street. You can certainly see a very active police presence out there. We have seen some movement, what looks like it maybe with some tactical units and some cars moving as well. So this is a very active situation. Atlanta police have tweeted information out about this, saying that this is an active situation. And again, Ron, as you mentioned, they are asking people to avoid these areas in Midtown.
Altogether. And so normally when there's a police tactical situation like this, they're trying to canvass the area and pinpoint the last location of the suspect. So that's why they have some of these officers at various corners, and they want citizens, other citizens, to stay away. If they have an idea of where the shooter is, if they can box that person in and contain them to that area, it makes their job a whole lot easier. And we saw this, Jennifer, on this GDOT camera, what appeared to be, but it has not been confirmed, it looked like a tactical team was coming together, trying to come up with a game plan, and then moving up the street.
All right, and so here's some new video that we just have coming in. It looks like some images from the Midtown area. We do have a crew that is out there on the scene working together, new details and information. You see, it looks as if other law enforcement entities have responded here as well. In addition to Atlanta police, we saw some vehicles from Georgia Tech, and it appears to be Georgia State University police out there as well. And Ron, that's something that we see frequently when we do have situations like this. You see a Georgia Tech police cruiser there. You see other entities responding and coming together all together at once.
Absolutely. So APD is probably calling in mutual aid to try to get other agencies there involved. And Jennifer, this is, as you know, a very fluid situation. I believe that 11 Alive's Joe Hankey's on the scene right now with the very latest. So Joe, what can you tell us from your perspective, where you are and what do you see?
We're on right now. We're at 14th and Peachtree here in front of Colony Square. And as you mentioned, very active scene. We're seeing not only Atlanta police out here, but local universities as well as the Fulton County Sheriff's Office. Many of those officers right now are in tactical gear. And as you see right there, moving around the area. Apologize for the sound, but very active scene. They're moving quickly through the area from time to time, moving their squad cars. They've been investigating quite a few different areas. I want to show you off to the side here. This is the front of Colony Square. For about a half hour, 45 minutes, officers were heavily focused on Colony Square. There we saw several officers, K-9 units, officers with long guns, and once again, as I mentioned, in tactical gear, going into Colony Square. And then a short time later, we saw them very slowly pull out. They then went down 14th Street. They then went down 14th Street here behind me. There's a hotel, parking garage, and some other places down there, a restaurant. Officers in their tactical gear, again with long guns drawn, were going down 14th Street there where they were focused. We then saw them huddling up. Looked like they were sort of getting a game plan together, and now we see quite a few officers heading towards what would be 75 down 14th Street here. We're not sure where exactly they're headed. We'll try to get some information. I see them going at least 2-3 blocks down the road there and now out of sight. So that's what we're seeing right now is an active scene here from officers. We see some of the Fulton County Sheriff's deputies, actually Fulton County Marshals now. They are leaving Colony Square as well. We are seeing, residents out here in the area, people working. We're seeing them in their windows, storefronts. They're looking at the area here. For some time, officers were letting people just walk up and down the sidewalks here. There was a lot of traffic here on Peachtree and 14th Street until about a half hour ago. And then traffic officers really shut down this area in a 1-2 block radius. So no traffic here right now, that they have the situation under control here, but we're waiting for any confirmation of whether anyone related to the situation, the shooting, has been found. Right now we can send it back to you in studio.
Okay, Joe, I know you just got there on the scene and you're gathering as we're speaking right now. We have been reporting that 3 people have been shot, 3 people injured. Have you seen an ambulance there? Have you seen fire crews working on any potential victims?
So that's one thing we did notice right when we arrived here about maybe 45 minutes, an hour ago, was down Peachtree Street here. I believe it's about 1100 Peachtree. There's a high-rise there. At that time, we saw 2 Atlanta fire trucks and I believe it was an ambulance. I believe it was a Grady ambulance. And EMTs and firefighters were putting on black vests. They look similar. I don't know if they definitely were bulletproof vests, but they look similar to those style vests. And they were going in to that high rise in the attached parking garage there. A short time later, we did see an ambulance with its lights and sirens leaving that high rise. No confirmation, though, of whether anyone is in that ambulance, but that is what we saw outside of that building. Once again, that was about an hour ago that they were stationed outside the building. It was about 15 minutes ago when the ambulance was leaving that building.
All right, Joe Hinkey reporting live from Midtown, and you see a very active scene. We keep seeing these law enforcement vehicles come and go as they continue to try and follow this situation. We understand that shooter is not in custody, and police again are asking people to avoid this area, and that doesn't just mean people traveling to and around the Midtown area. It also means people that live and work in that area too. They probably want people to shelter where they are and not come out and interfere or be out there looking or trying to see what's going on, so that they can do their jobs and keep as many people as safe as possible.
And something to keep in mind here, even though Joe Hinkey was doing his live report and you saw a bunch of like motorcycles and other officers taking off and they're going to another location, code 3, lights and sirens, the one thing that we don't hear on the public traffic or public scanner is exactly what may be going on the tactical scanner. So the tactical scanner is just what law enforcement is hearing. So they may, even though we haven't confirmed, they may have some additional information that would have sent all of those vehicles into that direction, which was to the right of Joe Hinkey, screaming down the street. And of course, hopefully we're going to find out what that's all about. Usually when that happens, that means that they got some credible information that may help in the investigation that would have sent them down the street like that.
And we are continuing to take a live look from those GDOT cameras. This is still that intersection of Peachtree Street and 14th Street. You just see the camera shifting a little bit. And I did notice you were talking about the behind the scenes work, Ron. I noticed someone going by on a scooter back there between while Joe Hinkey was reporting live out there from Midtown. And that's what I meant when we were talking about people avoiding the area, not just car traffic, but also foot traffic, scooter traffic. They're asking everyone to avoid this area. We do want to remind you all that we are understanding right now that there is no impact to any Atlanta public schools from all of this. We also understand that Midtown MARTA station has not been impacted, so that's good news. But also, you know, just information that we are gathering because details are very limited at this point.
And I'm sure that those school officials, that APS school officials, are monitoring this as well, just in case the suspect has moved from point A to point B. You know, that may possibly trigger a lockdown, of course. And so APS is going to stay on that. APD obviously is doing what they do. And we're going to continue to monitor what's happening right there in Midtown. So once again, if you can avoid that area, folks, 14th Street, Peachtree Street, stay away from that area altogether. One thing that Joe Hinkey did point out is that he did see an ambulance and he saw fire crews go inside a certain building, and then the ambulance took off, possibly going to Grady. One thing we should point out about that, Jennifer, and we've talked about this many times, firefighters are now trained to go into very difficult situations with tactical gear, whether it's, you know, bulletproof vest or whatever, so they can get in there, get the victims, get them out, put them in the ambulance, and then get them on to the hospital. Not quite sure if that's what happened here, but it sounds like that so far.
It does sound like Joe said that those first responders were getting dressed out as well. We do also want to talk about this area that this is happening in. Midtown is very busy, a lot of businesses, and we're talking about Colony Square down there. There are a lot of restaurants there, shops and businesses. It's a high-rise building, and there's a lot of activity. We did see a few people kind of hanging around outside near one of those locations when Joe was reporting live for us. But this is a very active situation and scene out there, and Joe was talking about seeing people looking out of their windows of the different businesses and apartments that are nearby. And so it's hard to say at this point because we do not have that confirmation about where exactly this took place. But there are a lot of options out there because it is a very concentrated area. Joe mentioning there's also some hotels nearby as well. So a lot of various situations that could have unfolded here. And again, we are waiting on those details from Atlanta Police.
And what's really concerning with Atlanta Police right at this point, they have 3 victims now, right? 3 victims that are down, at least 3 victims. The shooter is still on the run. So they have to contain this person as soon as possible to make sure that that the victims, that it doesn't multiply, that it's not 4, it's not 5, it's not 6. And as you pointed out, Jennifer, a very busy Midtown, restaurants, businesses, just, you know, foot traffic down there. You can see a little bit
of that right there.
Yeah,
it looks like some folks that are not necessarily associated. It could be journalists, working journalists.
It could be journalists working, but they have to be concerned with all of that, keeping everyone safe. But they got to get that shooter, and they've got to get that person as soon as possible.
Especially with the person being outstanding, who knows where they moved to after that initial incident took place. We do want to mention again that there are other law enforcement agencies that are responding to this in addition to Atlanta Police. We saw some Georgia Tech vehicles out there. Joe Hinkie said that the Fulton County Sheriff was out there, Fulton County Marshals out there as well. So this has drawn a wide-ranging response from local law enforcement as they are trying to find this person, whoever he or she may be.
And usually in a situation like this, you have Atlanta PD. They're going to be the primary agency. They're probably going to set up a command center. I mean, we don't have that information, but normally, you know, just based upon my law enforcement experience and training, usually one agency is the lead agency. They're going to set up a command center because then you ask for mutual aid. You're going to ask for all these different agencies to coordinate with you so that everybody's on the same sheet of music with one purpose and one purpose in mind: keeping the public safe and apprehending the alleged shooter as well, and getting any other victims that may be out there, getting them safely to Grady Hospital usually.
That's right. And as we're looking, we're seeing different units out there as well. We saw an officer with a K9 responding as well. So there's certainly a lot that's going on right there. At this time, we do want to take a pause because we want to bring in our television audience again. So stay with us. We're actually going to do that in just a little bit, but we will be taking a pause in the near future so we can get more information and do that. But again, as we are taking a look at some of these images that we are seeing from the Midtown area, that's where you can see all the different responses from law enforcement agencies that are out here as well. We see some video out there that looks like Georgia State University Police that is out there. Rumi's Kitchen, a fairly new restaurant down there. Five Church, Midtown out there. Just a lot of businesses that are out here, and that's certainly a cautionary warning for people that live and work in Midtown to certainly heed this warning from police, to stay where they are, to shelter in place, to let them take as much advantage of that to keep these people out of there, because that's certainly an incumbent for law enforcement, more people being out there than should be.
Absolutely. And you saw the K9 officer in some of that video, and you see that officer is probably going to be going from door to door, place to place, little nooks and crannies, looking for a possible suspect, looking for anything, any type of suspicious movement where the dog or the K9 would actually be triggered and begin to focus on that particular area. So that's why they're bringing in the K9 officers as well. That's why it's so important for any citizens that may be in the area to stay away. I know it's interesting. I know you're probably thinking, especially if you're watching us on 11 Alive Plus, you're probably thinking, well, let me just go out there and check out the lights and sirens and see what's going on. Stay away. You want to stay out of law enforcement's way as they continue to investigate, because there's still a possible shooter, not calling it an active shooter, but there's still a shooter, according to the Atlanta Police Department, still out there on the street.
And we do have some new information that's just coming into our newsroom. We're learning from Atlanta Public Schools right now that they are on an exterior lockdown at Midtown High School. So this means that students can move around inside the building, but they cannot go outside the building. They can move around inside. They can continue on with learning and whatever activities are going on inside that school building, but they cannot go outside. And this is at the request, we understand, from Atlanta Police. Midtown High School over on Charles Allen Drive. And so that is just a short distance away from some of this that is going on. So again, Atlanta Public Schools are telling us that Midtown High School is on an exterior lockdown. And this is at the request of the Atlanta Police Department as they continue to search for this shooter in this situation where 3 people have been injured.
And that's really important for parents to understand that too. They're probably really concerned about their children there at Midtown High School. You know, is my child safe? Are they going to be okay? okay. Well, apparently right now it appears that that is the case, especially if they're just doing an exterior lockdown. But you better believe it, I'm quite sure, I mean, we're not there, but APD and probably any type of police resource officer, they're gathered around that high school or any other school there just to make sure that the perimeter does not spill out beyond that. Where they actually have it locked down, they want to make sure it does not spill out beyond that to get to those particular schools.
That's right. And again, this is just an exterior lockdown.
Yeah.
Students are going on with their classes and whatever is going on, but they're just remaining inside that building. Again, this is at the request of Atlanta Police as they continue. And we again have mentioned that this is not just Atlanta Police who are working this scene. You see a Georgia State University vehicle right there. So, and that's where we saw that canine officer as well. So there's a lot going into this particular search right now for this person who is still not in custody. Again, they're just asking everyone to stay out of this area. We do have a reporter on the scene that's working to gather new details for us. We'll continue to check in with him as we get them. And at this point, we do want to take a pause so we can bring in our television audience. So stay with us right here. We are going to take a pause and we will be right back. We're going to reset things and then we will continue to bring you this developing breaking news coverage. And we are interrupting programming with breaking news out of Midtown. Right now, a manhunt is underway for the person who shot 3 people.
That's right. This is a very fluid situation right now, folks. The scene is unfolding right near Peachtree Street and 14th Street. So police are asking anyone in that area, like if you work there, you have relatives there, you have family there, tell them to stay off the streets, specifically in the areas between 12th Street and Peachtree Street Northeast and 15th Street and West Peachtree Street Northwest. So this is what we know so far. This is according to Atlanta PD. 3 people have been shot. The shooter is still on the run. We don't know the condition of the 3 people that have been shot. However, they're really concerned for the safety of individuals there. And Jennifer, we've been monitoring this on 11 Alive Plus, and we know that they have now called in mutual aid. That means other agencies in the area to help them to cordon off that area to make sure they can contain the suspect as they continue their search.
That's right. You can see in that image that we just saw, we have heard as well from Joe Hinkie, who is out there on the scene. Georgia State University Police, Georgia Tech Police, the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, and Fulton County Marshals all responding in addition to Atlanta Police as they continue to work this situation. We do want to tell you this is in the area of Colony Square. If you're familiar with that intersection around Peachtree and 14th, a hotel nearby, restaurants nearby, businesses, people working, going about their regular activities, housing and apartments and things nearby. So there's a lot going on in this particular section of Midtown, and police are asking everyone to avoid the area. They describe this as an active situation on Twitter. And again, they are asking anyone, regardless of whether you live there, maybe you were just happened to be in the area, or maybe you have business that usually might take you through the Midtown area. They're asking everyone to avoid it. Don't go near there as this response is still ongoing.
And the thing that we noticed too, Jennifer, when we were on 11 Alive Plus, and that is this, we're streaming live there, is we actually noticed that there were some officers in tactical gear getting organized, getting their game plan together, and then they marched up the street. And I believe we have 11 Live Joe Hinkie. He's live on the scene. So Joe, where are you? What have you seen so far, sir?
Well, Ron, we're here at 14th and Peachtree in Midtown, just across the street from Colony Square. And as you mentioned, officers in tactical gear sort of grouping up and getting their game plan together. We've seen that multiple times while we've been out here. I'll give you a look off to the side here. This is Colony Square to my right. It was about maybe 45 minutes, an hour ago. We saw a lot of officers in tactical gear, some with long guns drawn, some with K9 units walking into Colony Square. They were focused on that for some time, then they slowly pulled out. Then those officers with tactical gear, they all went down 14th Street here just behind me. There's a parking garage down there, there's a hotel down there, there's also a children's daycare. Talked with a mom that had picked up her kid just a few minutes ago from that daycare. She said she had a hard time getting to her child. Appears there might have been some sort of lockdown at that daycare. She said that they have a high level of security just on a usual day at that daycare, especially when there's an active police scene out here. What we're seeing as far as the police response, Atlanta Police, Georgia State, Georgia Tech Police, Fulton County Marshals, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, as well as Atlanta Fire out here. So a large police presence and fire presence out here. Just off to my left here, we can still see 2 Atlanta fire trucks there. Just beyond them and across the street, so the side of the street that I'm standing on is 1100 Peachtree. It was about an hour and a half ago now. We saw 2 fire trucks and an ambulance outside of a building there. They were parked there for some time. While they were parked there, we saw firefighters and EMTs putting on vests. They look similar to bulletproof vests. We have not confirmed if they were bulletproof vests, but they were putting some sort of black vest on that said fire over the chest. They then went into that building in the attached garage. Short time later, they came out. We were a little distance down from that building, so we couldn't see if they put anyone in that ambulance, but that ambulance left rather quickly with its lights and sirens on. In the last 15-20 minutes, we've been seeing police more and more leave this scene behind us here. There used to be the whole left side of 14th Street was lined with law enforcement. A lot of them have left, and they have headed back towards 75 from Midtown here towards 75. We are trying to confirm where exactly they are headed, but officers kept leaving with lights and sirens and rather quickly headed towards 75. Still a very active scene out here. Police are keeping people a couple blocks away from the area. We are seeing some traffic now being let in again here on Peachtree. It's been a while since we've seen any cars able to drive down Peachtree here, so they are letting some cars in again, just a very few. Unclear if maybe they're coming from a parking garage, not all the way down the street here. But there still are road closures in the area. Meanwhile, we're seeing some people that work at buildings, some residents of some of the apartments or condos here, either watching from their windows, watching from storefronts. They're trying to get some information on what's happening in their neighborhood as well. But right now, that is what we are seeing out here. We'll send it back to you in studio, where I understand you guys are getting some information into the newsroom as well.
Yeah. That's right, Joe. Thank you so much. We do want to let everybody know, we had initially heard that there was no impact to Atlanta Public Schools, but within the last 15 minutes or so, we have learned that at the request of Atlanta Police, Midtown High School has been placed on a exterior lockdown, and that means that the students can continue to move throughout the interior, the inside of the building, but they cannot go outside. So again, this is at the request of Atlanta Police. Midtown High School has been placed on an exterior lockdown. We also understand that MARTA, the Midtown station, has not been impacted, and that's some of the information that we're getting as we're continuing to follow this situation.
Yeah, and you can see why parents are really concerned about what's going on, especially at Midtown High School. Joe even alluded to the fact that there's a daycare, possibly a private daycare, just down the street from all this activity. Hey, let me just point this out, folks. So what you're seeing right here is just maybe 10 or 15 minutes ago, not too far from where Joe was. A lot of police activity. It appeared that the officers were on heightened alert with the lights and the sirens and moving traffic around, and then they were screaming back and forth down the street using lights and sirens. But where Joe is now, it appears that they're not standing down, but it's not as active as it was during that first live shot that we saw 15 or 20 minutes ago. So obviously, all the concentration is in another part of Midtown where they may, we don't know yet, where they may have some more activity that can lead them in this investigation. Once again, 3 people shot. This is according to Atlanta Police. We don't know the condition of those folks who were shot. We know that there is a shooter still on the loose, and of course, police want to cordon off that area. They want to focus and dial in on where that person may be so that no one else is injured. So once again, if you are in that area, you have family members in that area, you have fellow co-workers, just obviously stay away from that altogether.
That certainly is the case, and if you've been with us, you will see the difference in the images that we were just showing you right there. That is a live camera from GDOT, and you could see the difference in that law enforcement presence. They were lined up all up and down that street for a time, and again, that has shifted. When we first went to Joe Hinkey not too long ago, we saw a lot of those emergency vehicles moving elsewhere, lights and sirens going. Right now, we do want to get to a viewer. Tamisha Steed is going to join us now. Her daughter is in this Midtown area. Tamisha, have you been able to speak with your daughter, and what has she told you about what's going on out there in Midtown?
Able to speak to her, that she's pretty shook up. She can't say too much because the homicide is here, but I can tell you one person is dead, and my daughter was shot at, but she's okay. and the other person is they're in stable condition from what I hear.
And you said,
and it was an owner of the a unit in the building, is what I'm getting the information. But as of right now, they're still gathering kind of like more information.
and you said your daughter was shot at. What can you tell us about that? Is she doing all right, or what happened with that?
She is okay. She is actually an employee here. So, she did say the shooter has some mental conditions. So I don't know if this is something mental, but she is okay, thankfully. But you have to excuse me. We're kind of shook up. It's not what I was trying to do.
Absolutely, Tamisha. And first of all, we're really sorry to hear what happened with your daughter. My question to you, and I know it's still developing, why would the shooter allegedly target? Well, it looks like we lost
it does
Tamisha
sound like
there.
we lost her.
My next question was going to be, why would the shooter target Tamisha's daughter and all the other folks involved as well? And hopefully we can get her back to get a better perspective of that, because the motive is why?
Mm-hmm.
Why shoot three people? And why were you targeting them? And then where are you now?
Yeah, and unfortunately, in these situations, we hear this all the time when we hear about shootings, people trying to get in touch with their loved ones. So we're glad that Tamisha was able to hear from her daughter, because I imagine so many other people are wondering what's going on and how their friends and loved ones are doing who may work or live in this area. But Tamisha did say her daughter is okay. Yeah. We don't have confirmation on any of the other information that you heard from her. There is speculation that there was the mental health issue. We will work to continue to gather details and update you as soon as we get that information. But again, a very active situation. That's what Atlanta police are describing this as, and they're still asking people to avoid the area because they do not have that shooter in custody at this time.
Yeah, so you're taking a live look right now, folks. This is from GDOT's camera. This is Peachtree Street, 14th Street. When we first came on the air on 11 Alive Plus, we saw a lot of activity, a lot of tactical officers getting their game plan together as they move down the street. It's much calmer now in that area because they want to make sure that everyone's okay. So we're hearing from our producer that Tamisha is now back with us right now. So Tamisha, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, ma'am, I just wanted to ask you before we got disconnected, why do you think the shooter would have targeted your daughter?
Well, it seems as what they're saying is the shooter was targeting employees in the building.
Can you describe what kind of building or facility this is, or what kind of business this is there?
Yeah, this is an upscale condo building, and it's privately owned, meaning different people own their units. And so, like I said, I really don't. It's weird. I really don't know too much. I literally helped my daughter get this job. She's only been here probably 6 to 8 months. And so it's just, again, it's an upscale condominium here in Midtown. I'm sorry, guys, I'm shook up. This is startling, but it's an upscale condominium here in Midtown.
Tamisha, how did you hear about what was going on? Was it from your daughter, or did you hear what was happening from the community?
No, it was from my daughter. I have 2 daughters, and it was from my other daughter called. And when I called to check on my daughter, she was screaming through the phone. She couldn't really talk, because she was just so shook. But this has never happened to any of us before. So she couldn't talk at all. So I just stopped what I was doing.
Are they sheltering in place at this time at that place of business?
They are now. It's been on lockdown. Yes, it is.
Okay. And I imagine many other businesses and condo buildings, apartment buildings, restaurants, shops in that area are also sheltering in place, as police have asked as well.
Yeah, so Tamisha, where are you right now in reference to where all this activity is taking place? Are you still close to where the crime scene is, or have you moved on to the hospital? Where are you?
No, I have to move on because I have to move on. My daughter's shook up. We're taking her to the hospital.
Yeah, okay, that makes a lot of sense. And at this point, once again, for those who are joining us right now, Tamisha Sheed, she's the mother of one of the victims there that was shot. This is right near. Oh, she was not
A
shot.
witness.
Okay,
I believe
she
her
was not
daughter
shot.
her daughter was shot at.
Oh, she was shot at. So this is near.
Thankfully, she was not a victim, but she was shot at.
Absolutely.
In this situation,
Thank God that
Tanisha.
she wasn't hit. So this is near Peachtree Street and 14th Street. And so you got the phone call, you learned what happened, you can understand why your daughter was really shaken by that. Do you know anything else about the other potential victims there?
I don't at all. I'm sorry. And I wish them well, but you got to know my focus is so much on my daughter right now.
Yeah.
So I do not know. I know her boss, which was a nice guy I had met before, and helped my daughter. He is deceased from what I hear. So I do know she shot him first. And my daughter's office is right next door to his.
Well, Tamisha, we do want to thank you for your time. We know that you didn't have to speak with us at this very tumultuous time, but we appreciate your time. We appreciate your perspective, and we're wishing you and your daughter and your family and everyone else out there very well at this time. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if you're just joining us right now, you too, and prayers for your daughter as well, and all those who are involved in law enforcement too, to stay safe. But if you're just joining us right now, folks, this is what we learned so far. Atlanta PD is confirming 3 people shot. The shooter's still on the run. We don't know if the shooter has actually been captured or not, has been arrested or apprehended, and we don't know the motive for the shooting as well. This is near Peachtree Street and 14th Street. Stay away from that area. This is what police are telling us.
All right, we do have someone else on the phone that we want to get to. We're not sharing this person's name, but we understand you are on lockdown in an office building in this Midtown area. What can you tell us? What have you seen and heard?
Yeah, I can tell you there's a ton of sirens and a helicopter, I guess, patrolling the area looking for the suspect. So most of us are pretty curious as to what's going on outside. There's a heavy amount of activity. So yeah, hopefully they can find the suspect.
Can you tell us like a cross street area of where you're located in the Midtown area? Would you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, so I'm in the Promenade building, so right across from Colony Square, where we heard the person was last seen.
Did you hear about what was going on just from the lights and sirens going on in your vicinity, or was there some sort of message or alert sent out to anybody in the building? How did you kind of discover what was unfolding there?
Yeah, our building did a pretty good job of letting us know that we were in lockdown, so they locked the exterior doors. And then, of course, most of us have our phones, so social media. Once we heard that we were in lockdown, there was an active shooter. A lot of us went on the social media to see what kind of details we could figure out.
Yeah, when we first went on the air, when we were streaming on 11 Alive Plus, we noticed that there was a lot of police activity in your area where you are. Not that they're on stand down, but is it still that same intensity in that area of the police activity? Do you see any officers in tactical gear, SWAT team members, or anything like that?
So I did hear SWAT team was on the scene. I will say there's still a lot of sirens. The angle, we're pretty high up, so our angle is kind of obstructed as to seeing any of the vehicles, but there is a lot of activity as far as helicopters and the sirens.
What was going through your mind when you first started hearing and seeing what was happening out there? What were you all thinking in that office building?
Our office building does a pretty good job of keeping us informed and to what the procedures they're following. So we definitely felt safe. It is odd. You don't think that these things could ever happen somewhere around. We go to Colony Square pretty often for lunch, so that's disturbing. And just hopefully they can find this person and resolve this situation as quickly as possible without anyone else getting hurt.
Yeah. Did you hear any of the gunfire that before the officers arrived? Did you hear any of the commotion?
No, we're pretty high up, and I think we're a decent ways away from where it happened to hear any of the gunshots.
Well, we certainly appreciate you taking the time to speak with us this evening and let us know what your perspective is, what you've seen and heard out there. We are certainly wishing you guys well as law enforcement, and hopefully they can resolve this situation shortly. But again, thank you so much for sharing with us this evening.
And the one thing that the caller, we really appreciate that, sir. The one thing that the caller pointed out is that he saw and he can hear a helicopter above the crime scene. And helicopters are so important in identifying who the person is, especially if they have a description. Like if they say, they can identify the sex, what they are wearing, how tall they are, what type of weapon that they have, then that's going to help the troops on the ground when the helicopter's above and see any type of unusual information or unusual movement. They can now send that information and communicate with the troops on the ground to be able to pinpoint where the suspect is. We don't know how far they are in the investigation, but hopefully they can resolve this shortly.
And again, we have seen that movement on the ground from law enforcement, shifting from that area that we see right here, this live look at Peachtree and 14th. We have seen the number of law enforcement vehicles decrease as they have taken off and moved to some other location. We can't say why, what information they have that has led them to make those decisions. But again, hopefully the investigation is moving and they have those details. Also in this intersection at Peachtree and 14th is our Joe Hinkie. We're going to go live to him. Joe, what are you seeing? Is there any changes in the scene out there? Any new information?
Well, yes, Jennifer, in the last few minutes, 5 minutes, traffic has resumed here at the intersection of 14th and Peachtree for a good while, about an hour, if not more. It was shut down in both directions for a couple blocks, but as you can see, traffic down behind me here has resumed. The intersection of 14th and Peachtree here behind me. As we go down the road there, that is 14th Street that is still blocked off. A couple minutes ago, that large Navy unit there, looking like an RV, that is an APD mobile command center, that showed up just a few minutes ago and parked there in front of what is a restaurant and hotel there, just off the corner of 14th and Peachtree, in between Peachtree and that would be Juniper down the road there. Still an active police scene out here. We still see police moving around, but they're moving around not as quickly as they were before. We still have Atlanta police out here, Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Georgia State Police. I believe Georgia Tech Police might still be out here, as well as Fulton County Marshals. Some time ago is when they were focused on the Colony Square area and the businesses immediately attached to Colony Square. That's when we saw officers in tactical gear, long guns drawn, going into Colony Square. They then pulled out of there and they joined other officers that were over here at 14th and Peachtree, and they were going into some of the restaurants, hotel, and buildings back behind me here. They then pulled out from there as well, and that's when we saw a lot of officers, perhaps maybe about half of the officers that were out here previously, quickly head down 14th Street, going back towards 75. We have not confirmed where exactly they were headed, but that does put them in the direction of 75, the interstate, so they could have been going quite a few different places. Off to my left here is where we previously saw some action. You can still see two Atlanta fire trucks on the what would be my left side of 14th Street here. Those two fire trucks remain. A lot of drivers out here trying to get where they are in this what has become quite a large backup, so excuse the horns there. But about a block down there on the right-hand side, the side of the street I'm standing on right now, is 1100 Peachtree. That is where Atlanta Fire and an ambulance were parked outside of 1100 Peachtree. They were there for some time. We saw them going in with black vests that resembled or looked similar to bulletproof vests, but we've not confirmed if that's what they are. They were there for some time, and then an ambulance quickly left with lights and sirens on. We have not been able to confirm with any emergency workers if there was anyone inside of that ambulance. There is now, since the ambulance and fire trucks left 1100 Peachtree, there's now Atlanta police parked outside of that building, and we did see when I went down there a little while ago some officers going into 1100 Peachtree. So that is the scene that we're seeing right now, still active, but less intense than it was, say, 45 minutes, an hour, hour and a half ago, as traffic has now resumed out here just in time for what's coming up on rush hour, as people are starting to leave a lot of these buildings, since there is a lot of offices here in the Midtown Colony Square area. Okay,
so Joe, from your perspective, we see what's behind you, on the side of you. We're starting to notice that there's some foot traffic as well. In front of you, which we can't really see right now, is there foot traffic? Is there regular vehicle traffic from where you are?
So there is some foot traffic if you're meeting right in front of me on the Colony Square side. Going down 14th Street right here, there is not, where APD still has it blocked off, but in front of Colony Square, we are seeing some people walking on the sidewalk over there, and there is traffic going immediately in front of Colony Square. They are not letting traffic as of right now go down 14th between Peachtree Street and Juniper. That is still closed down. That is where that mobile command center from APD is parked right now. It is unclear what their focus is over there, or if it's just solely they have that mobile command center and they're using that as a staging area, and that's why that remains closed. But here in front of Colony Square, we do see some people coming out of the buildings, walking, and traffic going through that area.
All right, Joe, thank you so much for that update. Again, if you are just now joining us, we are learning from Atlanta police that there is an active situation in Midtown. 3 people injured at least. This is a live look from GDOT cameras at Peachtree Street and 14th Street, where it seems like a lot of this action from law enforcement has been concentrated. We understand that there is a multi-layered response here, not just Atlanta police, but also the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, Atlanta Fire, Georgia Tech, and Georgia State Police responding as well. This has been going on for some time now. Atlanta police tweeting about 2:41 this afternoon about this active situation, asking people to avoid the area. As you just heard from our reporter Joe Hinkie there, they do seem to have loosened some of that. We have some vehicle traffic and some foot traffic in that area, but this situation is still unfolding. Something that we talked about earlier was the schools from APS. We do know that the Atlanta Police Department requested that there be an exterior lockdown at Midtown High School off Charles Allen. Students can move inside that school, but they were asked not to go outside of the building. We also understand that the Midtown MARTA station has not been impacted by this particular situation that is still unfolding at this hour.
Yeah, and it has been developing as we started this live adventure. It started on 11 Alive Plus, and I know that there's a lot of parents out there who may be concerned about their students there, if they have students or family members at Midtown High School. But Joe Hinkie brought this up too about a half hour ago, that there's a private daycare down the street, that there was concerns there by parents. A parent was there to pick up their child as well. But as far as we know, there's no schools, there's no APS schools, and we haven't heard about any private schools or private daycares where they're in danger or in complete lockdown right now. Of course, we're going to stay on top of that. The other thing that Joe pointed out that we saw in his video is that APD has now set up a command center. And usually you're going to have a primary agency that's going to make sure that everybody's on the same page, and it appears that APD is that primary agency. But you had multiple agencies show up to support. Fulton County, you had Georgia State Police as well. I mean, you had just a ton of other agencies that were helping out. But the primary agency is APD to make sure that they can focus in and find whoever the shooter is.
And if you look at this video that we're showing on your screen, it does seem, and what we've heard from our reporter live on the scene, Joe Hinkie, that this has been focused around Colony Square, at least at some point initially in this ongoing investigation. And we know that is a very busy area. There are businesses there, restaurants, shops. We heard from someone in an office building nearby who says they frequently leave that office building and go to Colony Square for lunch. And so this is a very busy area, and this is happening around the end of that lunch period. People still might be out there eating or grabbing something maybe before they prepare to go home. And so this is certainly happening in a very busy location of our city.
And we have some new video just coming into the newsroom to give us a better perspective. The producers in our ear are just letting us know this is what's going on. Go ahead. Our producer's talking to us. Colony Square, where officers are looking around, as you can see. This is from a cell phone video, and you can see they're in tactical gear.
The long guns.
The long guns. And they normally go from building to building, every nook and cranny, trying to figure out what's going on. And during that canvas, they're talking to other folks. Have you seen this person? Can you give us a description? What type of weapons do they have? All that information is very important to them. As you can see, they're walking in what appears to be a restaurant here, Jennifer.
Yeah, maybe a restaurant or an open area, because over in Colony Square there are some open areas for people to get food from different establishments and then go sit down and eat their meals, or maybe hold meetings and things of that nature in that vicinity. And so this is again happening right there. We do want to take a look from our chopper, our 11 Live Sky Tracker right now above the scene. You can still see some of that law enforcement presence. This is a live look right now from above that intersection. Looks like Peachtree and 14th still are in that neighborhood of where that is. And again, we can still see a lot of those law enforcement vehicles still out there, even as we have seen other vehicles shift to other potential locations.
Other places. But the one thing that we have seen, you can see there, right there, Jennifer, you see a lot of just regular car traffic, right? So, and matter of fact, if you zero in,
that looks like some of the reporters that are out there covering the story
I think
in that particular corner.
Yeah, I think that's where Joe Hickey was standing, and he was talking about foot traffic has picked up, just regular vehicle traffic has picked up. So they've opened up that area there. However, a big chunk of Midtown is still on lockdown as they continue to look for the suspect.
Yeah, a lot of side streets going on over there, and a lot of hotels and also apartment complexes and so many other things that are out there in this area. So again, police have asked people to avoid the area if they can, but this is a very active situation according to police. We're just getting some new information from Atlanta Police. I'm going to try and take a look at this. Ron, if you want to tell us, because that's that actual
yeah, that's the command center there. So it's one thing you have to keep in mind, anytime that there's a crime scene that's massive, they're trying to get as much control of it as possible. They don't want it to be 4 blocks wide. They don't want it to be 2 blocks wide. They want to narrow it down to one specific area. But this crime scene, as we can see right now, Jennifer, is huge, is massive, and there's so many different moving parts here. And as you pointed out, so many different buildings they could go into in trying to find the suspect.
We want to get you to this latest information. We are just getting this information in from Atlanta Police. They say around 1:45, officers responded to a call about a person who had been shot, this off West Peachtree Street in the 1200 block. They say that when they got there on the scene, officers found 2 people who appeared to have been shot. One of those victims has died. The second has been taken to a hospital for treatment. While there, we understand that officers got another call about another person shot in the 1100 block of Peachtree Street, so just a little ways down from that initial call. We also understand that upon arrival there, officers found one person who appeared to be shot there too. That person was also taken to the hospital. So it seems that as if there are two scenes right here, and this is information just in, as I continue to walk you through some of this information, this is just in a video, an image rather, of a female suspect that we are just getting in. This is the person that Atlanta Police are searching for, Ron.
Yeah, so when you look at the description here, so this is really important, and this is what police are looking for. They can always change what their outfit or or whatever, but this is what they're looking for. It appears to be a female, if I'm correct.
Yes, that's what the police are saying, an unknown female who they believe is responsible for these shootings. Again, 3 people shot. One person has died and 2 others from 2 separate locations taken to the hospital.
So she's wearing a white and black striped shirt, blue jeans. She's also has some luggage. It appears that she has some luggage she's carrying as well, and a purse. We don't know if the weapon is inside that purse, but if you know who that person is, if you're watching right now, you're like, I know who that is. She works with me, or maybe she's a family member or a friend. APD need you to call them immediately so they can find that person of interest.
They certainly do. Again, we are just looking at some new information that is just in this image of the person who police believe is responsible, this woman, for this shooting in multiple locations in Midtown. Right now, police are telling us that, again, as you've been watching along with us, multiple units and jurisdictions and municipalities or law enforcement agencies rather responding to this, searching for this female suspect. Now, it's not clear at this point if this woman remained in this vicinity or if she has left. Investigators are taking leads that Ron mentioned are so important, so critical here. They are following up on them, trying to find this woman. So again, if you know anything, you're asked to please contact them. But right now, we do know that at least 1 victim has died. 3 people have been shot. 2 have been taken to the hospital, and we do not have any further information about how those additional 2 people are doing. Again, police say this started, appears to have started around 1:45 this afternoon. The last shot appears to have been fired around 2:15, according to police. So again, this is an image of who they believe is a shooting suspect. We don't have many other details aside from a very distinct top that this lady has on, and knowing that this is a woman.
Okay, I believe we have Crash Clark. You know, he's on the phone right now to talk about traffic in that area. Crash, if you're there, sir, if you can give us a better perspective of what's taking place as far as police movement and traffic as well, sir.
Yeah, Ron and Jennifer, as you can imagine, I mean, as we've been watching this whole situation unfold, I mean, there was just a massive response. I've got the Sky Tracker camera right up here on Peachtree and 14, so I'm still watching this huge police presence all around Colony Square. We're talking about the heart of Midtown at 4:15 in the afternoon on a Monday. So a lot of folks, I know they're stuck in those buildings, but those parking decks sooner or later are going to start emptying out, and that's where things are going to get pretty rough. Now, with Peachtree Street closed down as we see it here around 14th Street, I would imagine they're going to stretch that a little bit in both directions, north and south. The good news for commuters or people that live in that area, we've got great alternates for you. Piedmont Road is going to be your best bet for your alternate on the opposite side towards Piedmont Park. And then you've got West Peachtree, depending on which direction you're having. If you're going north, West Peachtree goes north. Spring Street will take you south through the city. The connector's in pretty rough shape right now. We had a series of accidents earlier as some rain moved through, but those surface streets are going to be great to use. West Peachtree, I should say, or Spring Street as we continue to watch this. And it's interesting, Ron, I know obviously your time serving as a police officer, I have actually participated in active shooter training at 1075 Peachtree, one of the larger buildings right there. So I know a lot of these high rises have had these active shooter trainings, and believe me, it is very intense. There is quite a response as we're seeing here. I know it's a very unfortunate situation with one person being killed, but hopefully with this response out here, they can get this suspect contained and off the streets. But certainly going to be a big problem traffic-wise. I'm going to keep an eye on it. Make sure you're following us at 11 Alive Traffic, and I will continue to tweet out updates. And, of course, we'll update you right here on air. Back to you guys.
All right, our traffic expert, of course, Crash Clark. Thanks, Crash. Hopefully we'll be able to check in with you a little later on in the broadcast. You know, the one thing that Crash pointed out here, Jennifer, and when you look at the photograph of the person that they're looking for, she's in the hallway. If she's in the hallway, look at all the different doors that she can go into. So that's what makes it so difficult for law enforcement, is not only are they searching on the street, they have to figure out which building is she in, which room is she in, which office is she in.
I hate to cut you off, but we're just hearing from our producers that this woman is in custody at this point. She has been taken into custody. It's not clear where, but Atlanta police is saying that this woman has been taken into custody. We're going to work to get those new details about where she was taken into custody. But again, this woman has been taken into custody. And if you're just joining us, we understand that one person has been killed in this triple shooting in Midtown Atlanta. We know 2 people were taken to the hospital. This all beginning around 1:45 this afternoon, with police responding to not one but 2 locations of shooting calls, one in the 1200 block of West Peachtree Street, and then on the 1100 block of Peachtree Street, which explains why there was such a wide perimeter that police have been shutting down in that Midtown area, asking people to shelter in place and avoid the area as they work this active situation. So again, 3 people shot, 1 person has died, 2 taken to the hospital for treatment with their conditions unknown. That last shot being fired around 2:15, according to police. Now, as we do know that this woman has been taken into custody, and again, we're working to get more information about how she was taken into custody, where she was taken into custody. Here's some other information that police are going to be searching for as they continue to investigate. They say that they don't have information right now on what led to these shootings. They don't know if there was a connection or what the connection was between those 2 locations in the 1200 block of West Peachtree and the 1100 block of Peachtree Street. They don't know the connection there. They're also working to figure out if the victims were actually targeted or if they were shot randomly, or if maybe some were targeted and others were shot randomly. They don't know that. But again, police have taken this woman into custody at this hour 4:18, and this all beginning to unfold around 1:45 this afternoon.
Yeah, and there's no silver lining in this and them apprehending the suspect. But the next question is, why? What was the motive? Why did you allegedly shoot these 3 people? And unfortunately, 1 person is dead. So Now that that has been resolved as far as taking someone into custody, now the investigation begins as to why. And not only as to why, but you have to think about the other two suspects. We don't know, or the other two victims,
yes.
other two victims, I misspoke there. We don't know the condition of these other two victims. You know, how badly were they injured? We even spoke with the mom about a half hour ago, 45 minutes ago, Tamisha Steed, who says that her daughter was shot at. And at this point, she says after speaking with her daughter was so shaken by the entire situation, you know, going from calm to someone shooting at you. We don't know the motive behind shooting at Tamisha Steed's daughter as well. But the good news with that situation, Tamisha Steed's daughter was not hurt.
And she said that this was happening at what she called an upscale condominium building in Midtown in Atlanta. And we know that there are several buildings like that, in addition to so many office spaces, restaurants, so many things in that busy area of Midtown. So that was why it was so important for police to have an area to work and investigate as they searched for this woman, to make sure that they could remain as safe as possible for themselves and keep the public safe by not coming into that perimeter that they were trying to establish. Let's show you another look at the woman that police, we understand, do have in custody now. Again, this follows a triple shooting in Midtown at multiple locations, and unfortunately we know that one person has died in all of this.
And just think about this. Crash Clark pointed this out. Here it is, 4:20 right now. Folks are going to be leaving out of those parking garages, trying to get out on the street onto 14th Street, Peachtree Street, trying to make their way to 75, maybe snake their way up to 400, trying to get home. It's going to be a traffic nightmare. It just absolutely is going to be a mess, no matter how you paint the picture. It's going to be difficult. So if you're in that area, if you live in or you live or work in that area, you got to pack your patience before you head out onto the street, because it's going to be very difficult as they continue to investigate.
And we want the officers and the law enforcement to be able to find whatever information they need to solve this, because now that this woman has been taken into custody, there are, as you mentioned, so many questions about why, and people will want that to unfold. So again, we know this situation began, that call coming in around 1:45. Here it is, 4:21, and this woman is in custody after this triple shooting in Midtown Atlanta.
And usually, so in this situation, so they have this suspect, allegedly she's already been captured, right? She's been arrested. They have her in custody. So you would think, well, okay, officers, you guys need to break everything down and just head back to wherever you need to go. But it doesn't happen that quickly. They still have to debrief each other. So they have to debrief APD to make sure that there's no other suspects or any other witnesses. They also still have to canvass the area to look for any potential victims out there, to make sure that there are no more victims. So that's why the traffic is going to be a nightmare, possibly for the next couple of hours, because they don't just stand down and take off. Those officers are still there investigating, even though they have this young lady in custody.
And again, also potential witnesses that might have been out there, any evidence that they may have been able to collect from that area as well. A live look right now at Peachtree Street and 14th Street. Just a couple hours ago, this area was locked down with law enforcement vehicles up and down both sides of the street, no vehicle traffic. But again, we can see that traffic has resumed. We see the regular everyday vehicles that are now able to make their way through this particular area of Midtown.
And, you know, you pointed something out that's really important as far as speaking with witnesses. So now they have to build a case against this young lady. They have to find shell casings that may have dropped to the ground that may match the gun that she allegedly used in this shooting. They have to be able to contain all of that evidence. And as you pointed out, Jennifer, they have to speak with every single witness. There could have been 20, 30, 40 witnesses. They must get statements from each and every one so they can paint a clear picture of what took place. Because when this investigation is all wrapped up into a little package, they then have to present it to the district attorney's office for them to move forward from there, to know exactly what charges they may bring against this young lady, whether it's malice murder, whether it's assault with a deadly weapon or aggravated assault. They have to piece everything together, and that's the reason why those officers are still there talking to witnesses, gathering information or evidence as well.
Yeah, it's not just a snap thing.
No.
A lot of times nowadays we want that to be the case. We
Yeah,
want it, it's over, we're back to normal.
Yeah.
But again, there are things that
Yeah.
still need to happen and take place in order to progress this investigation, because there will be things that follow the police investigation
Yeah.
in terms of court proceedings and things, and so law enforcement have to have their eyes and their I's dotted and their T's crossed to make sure that those things proceed as they should as well.
Absolutely, because then if you contaminate the evidence, so to speak, you contaminate the evidence that you are collecting, by the time you get to court, whoever may be representing this young lady, if she doesn't strike a plea deal or whatever transpires from there, if everything is not buttoned up tightly, then it can end up jeopardizing the case. So that's why it's a slow, methodical process in talking with the witnesses and gathering evidence. And I know Crash Clark has been monitoring the traffic. I don't even know if we have him available right now. Okay, so we're going to try to bring Crash back, but I can just imagine, here it is, 4:24 in the afternoon, Midtown Atlanta. Folks are trying to get out of the area that would have probably left a couple of hours ago, but they can't.
Or get home to this area.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
There
They
are a
can live
lot
in
of
that area.
condominiums and apartments nearby that location as well, and these do appear to be surveillance images that
Yes.
police released of this person, who we understand again is now in custody, and that's why some of those cameras can be so important and
So
critical
important.
in these investigations and these situations, because police were able to get this image out very quickly to help with this investigation.
Yeah.
And no sooner than we got this image, we got word that the person, this woman here, was in custody.
And what's so important here is APD or whatever agency, they're able to get this picture, get it out to the media immediately so that they can begin to zero in on the suspect. So if she would have gone outside of the perimeter of what they were holding there, if she went outside of the crime scene, at least we would have known who she was, or at least have an idea of who she was and what she's wearing.
And that can be so critical, because this is a distinct top that this woman
Yeah.
had on, is not just the basic black tee.
Yeah.
So having this would likely be very helpful for law enforcement as they were working to apprehend this woman. Again, 3 people shot, 1 person dead, and the story still is developing as we're waiting on police to give us additional information and details.
And Jennifer, we just got Crash Clark. He is back to give us a better idea of what the traffic nightmare is happening in Midtown and beyond. Crash?
Yeah, Ron and Jennifer, that's true. I'm sitting here right now and I'm monitoring all the streets, and believe me, they're going to start filling up real quick. Obviously, we're going to center it all around Peachtree and 14th Street, right there near Colony Square, in basically what is the heart of Midtown. And traffic is flowing now. I'm watching some of that as a lot of that police presence starts to wrap up. Of course, they're not completely wrapped up with that investigation, so we'll still see a lot of police presence in that area. And then these parking decks, I'm sure these people have been through a very stressful situation, being on a lockdown in these office buildings. They're probably going to want to start filing out right now. So expect some pretty heavy traffic along Peachtree. We know it gets very heavy heading northbound, folks trying to make their way towards Buford Spring Connector, maybe peeling off on 85 northbound or making their way to the connector. And unfortunately, the connector's in real rough shape because we had a series of accidents earlier when the rain came blowing through here. So don't expect to set any speed records trying to make your way over towards the downtown connector. Like you've been saying, Ron, got to pack your patience here on this one. I know everybody wants to kind of get home and hug your loved ones, but use those surface streets because you know Peachtree is going to get crowded. Swing on over to Piedmont Avenue. That goes right near Piedmont Park. Juniper can help you a little bit. Of course, remember, that's only one way. And then you have West Peachtree and Spring Street. West Peachtree, of course, that'll take you northbound towards the connector, or you can do Spring Street, which will get you deeper into Midtown and then eventually downtown. But I know we've got the Sky Tracker high above, and you can look through the buildings, and you can see a lot of that traffic on the connector is already building up. And as these folks start to get released from the day of work here on Monday, Midtown is going to be a little bit rough. I'm certainly going to keep an eye on it. I'm tweeting out as much as I can for you. Make sure you follow us at 11 Alive Traffic, and if anything big happens as far as traffic, I'll certainly let you guys know. But we're going to give you another update at 5 o'clock. But again, expect some pretty heavy congestion as they continue to try and wrap up this investigation. Guys, back to you. you.
Love
Thanks,
your
Crash.
perspective.
Yeah,
Yep.
probably a good idea to check that Twitter account that Crash mentioned at 11 Alive Traffic before you head out the door for the latest information and updates before you hit the road.
Yeah, especially if you have family members who are working in that area, they're trying to make it home, and if you're watching, whether you're watching on 11 Alive Plus or you're watching on television, just shoot them a text or give them a ring, hands-free, make sure everybody's safe, right?
Yeah.
Give them a holler and let them know, hey, the Crash is suggesting that you go down Spring Street or you do this or that, whatever it takes for you to get home safely. But keep in mind, Crash also said there's a couple of wrecks too on the freeway that's going to slow you down anyway.
All right, so let's kind of reset for those of you who may just be joining us at this hour, about almost 4:30.
Yeah.
We now know that a woman has been taken into custody following a triple shooting in Midtown. One person was killed, 2 others have been taken to the hospital. This happening at separate locations. This all beginning to unfold around 1:45. Officers responding to that call, that initial call of a person shot in the 1200 block of West Peachtree Street. While they were responding to that call, they were then called to a second location on 1100 in the 1100 block of Peachtree Street, where another individual appeared to have been shot. There were 2 people shot at that initial location, and that is also where that person unfortunately died. We know at this point that police had the information about the last shots being fired around 2:15, and again, it is 4:30 right now. We understand right around 4:15 is when we were getting some of that information about 15 minutes ago that this woman has been taken into custody, and these are images from Atlanta police. They do appear to be surveillance images of the woman that police say they believe is responsible for this triple shooting in Midtown. And again, we saw a massive response from law enforcement here.
Huge response. So just put a timeline on this thing. So if they got
I'm sorry, let me interrupt you. We want to show you this. This is a tweet from Brian Boot with 94.9 The Bull. This is a photo from the Atlanta police, from the Atlanta airport. Brian saying that he had just gotten off a flight, and it appeared to him at least that woman had been taken into custody. Now, this information is not confirmed by Atlanta police. Again, this has not been confirmed by Atlanta police, but if you see the tweet on that right side of your screen, and then you look on the left side and you see the image released by Atlanta police, we see that distinctive striped t-shirt. And so this again is a tweet that has been sent out by Brian Moot from 94.9 The Bull, saying he had just gotten off a flight at the Atlanta airport, and he believed that the suspect in the shooting had been apprehended or taken into custody at that location.
And you know what's really interesting about this, Jennifer? So if the shootings took place there, number one, the first one, according to APD, happened at 1:45, right? Second one happened at 2:15. So we're talking about a 30-minute span. And if during that time, and we don't have all the information to confirm this, as Jennifer pointed out, if the suspect made it all the way to Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, you can see she's towing some luggage. It appears that she has luggage and a bag in her hand. Where was she headed to?
Yeah, and you noted that initially when we first got those images from Atlanta police that it appeared that she had some luggage with her. And so again, unconfirmed by Atlanta police, but it does appear, at least from this information from folks out in the community, that she eventually made her way to the airport. What we want to do is recap for you right now. Again, a triple shooting in Midtown starting around 1:45 this evening. Police responding to the 1200 block of West Peachtree Street. 2 people shot there. 1 person has died. And while they were there, Atlanta police got another call of a person shot. This from the 1100 block of Peachtree Street. Police responding en masse to this area, what they were calling an active situation. And we understand that multiple law enforcement jurisdictions responded as well. Police from Georgia Tech and Georgia State, in addition to the Fulton County Sheriff's Office and marshals responding. They had initially asked people to avoid the area, but it does seem that there is some movement on those surface streets now. And again, this is still an ongoing investigation. We don't have that confirmed from Atlanta police that this woman was taken into custody at the airport, but we do know she has been taken into custody.
Yeah, and the other thing that we know, we spoke with a mom. Her name is Tamisha Steed. She said that her daughter was shot at but not hurt. She ended up calling her mom as well. So very tense situation at 14th Street, Peachtree Street as well. It appears that it may have been resolved, and of course we're going to stay on top of this for you.
Yeah, we'll have the very latest for you on our 11 Alive streaming plus 11 Alive Plus, our streaming platform, and we'll see you again at 5 this evening and 6 for the latest information. Thank you so much for being with us. Our coverage will continue this evening.
Thank you.